So, I woke up to the Switch 2 trailer the other day. So, let's go ahead and talk about it, shall we? Okay, so the first thing I noticed pretty much immediately that it's getting a bigger screen versus the first Switch. And it also looks like we're getting a second USB port on this thing for people who want to charge with different orientations, or sacrificing some other peripherals in exchange for charging or whatnot. That's a plus there, that's a definite improvement, as well as the stand. That, in all honesty, at least just from this one trailer, looks to be the best upgrade to this entire thing. Frankly, I want to say that the OLED model did have a similar stand design, which I think this is much better than the previous stand, which is literally just one little flimsy piece of plastic that could easily be tore off. I did love how the Joy-Con coloring and texturing effecting in this video made it literally feel like they were pouring something creamy into the Joy-Cons. Like, it's an upgrade. It works now. Look at these little clicking features we have. And we see the piece in the middle there. This isn't the sliding mechanism from the OG Switch, which I kind of question why they changed that, because that actually worked fine. The rail system worked fine for that. That's actually one of the weird things I feel like this shouldn't have been changed, because that connector piece on the Switch directly will break, and I bet that would actually force the entire system to be set in rather than just the Joy-Cons for the OG model, or at the very least you had a Pro controller if you had to set in your Joy-Cons because of Joy-Con drift. They really didn't talk about much about the dock at all with this thing. It just really felt like, is this just going to be what the upgrades they got with the OLED model one and just copy and paste onto the Switch 2? Like, are we just going to see more of this later down the road and actually talk about that? I don't know. Or if it's just going to be mentioned in passing. It's good to see that this thing also is featuring backwards compatibility, and it makes sense because Nintendo widely has been known for their backwards compatibility with a lot of their consoles. I'm happy that they're doing that with the Switch 2. I don't think anyone was expecting them not to do that. I kind of feel like the Switch 2 is not going to feel like a full-on sequel system, because we have to remember this is Nintendo after all. I feel like this is going to perform more akin to what we thought the Switch Pro was going to do back when we got the OLED model instead. That's what I think this is going to be, more spec-like, but at the same time, it's going to be more priced and marketed as the full successor system. So we're going to be charged the $400 up to $500, who knows? I don't think they're going to go up to $500 personally, but they may go like $400, $450 definitely, because I have heard that this thing's going to be more specced out like the PS4. And you know what? I kind of don't mind that. As long as we don't have to compromise as much on the performance versus portability side, especially for the third-party games, like we had to with the Switch 1, I don't think that's going to be as big of a problem. But of course, you're probably going to have to make some compromises because of the form factor, but at the same time, how much of a compromise are you really going to make here? I mean, you got to look at things like the various Steam Deck models and all the other Steam Deck alternatives that you have to compete with as well. This isn't the landscape where there was nothing like this before with the Switch 1. You have way more competition in this market now. You gotta be more competitive with that, with the Switch 2, period. Some people are saying that it's going to be $400. Some people are going to say it's $450, maybe $500 if it's bundled with the Switch 2 game. I kind of feel like for what it's potentially going to be, with it being more of a Pro model or 1.5, it really should not be $450. It really should just be $400 and just leave it there, because back then it needed to really be good. It needed to knock it out of the park, and there was nothing like it at the time. But now you have things like the Steam Deck and the ROG Ally and all these other handheld inspired consoles that came from the Nintendo Switch itself. At least with this one, though, you do have a little bit more urgency of like, well, there are going to be games exclusive to it. I'd imagine there are people who are like tinkerers or hobbyists or YouTube, basically the same people who already have probably one of each model of Switch that's already out, and they want to just add another one to their collection. And or the most up-to-date model to be their daily driver. Or perhaps people who are desperate for a actual upgrade to the Nintendo Switch and are thinking that this is going to be it and they need to get it day one. I just don't think this thing's going to nail it out of the park. It's not quite as disappointing as the OLED, I feel like, but at the same time, like, it will have its day. But ultimately, though, we aren't going to be able to see any more details about this thing until April 2nd, so who knows? Maybe I'll make a follow-up video on this. Maybe I'll talk again about the Nintendo Switch Direct when we finally get that, and we'll talk more about the Switch 2 then. And until next time, see you later.